Lori again, and welcome back to my kitchen. Guys, I've really been busy. Spring is always busy for us, and so sometimes I do get a little behind on recording videos and responding to people. But this last month in the Snug group on Facebook, that's SNUG, Canning to Preserve Our Future, Amber May did the entire month of April sharing absolutely fantastic recipes with us using Bisquick. Now she has a recipe for homemade Bisquick mix, so you don't have to run out to the store and buy that expensive box of Bisquick. You can make this for a fraction of the cost at home. Now I've been using this mix myself for countless years. It's amazing stuff. The recipe for the Bisquick mix is 6 cups of flour, 3 tablespoons of baking powder, 1 tablespoon of salt, and 1 cup of shortening. That would be Crisco or butter flavored Crisco, or you can even use lard if you want to. Cut your shortening into little smaller sized chunks, around 1 tablespoon or so. You don't want it, in one great big glob. But go ahead and pour all of your dry ingredients just into a blender. And if you have like a pastry dough or, a pastry, what are the center things called? You know what I'm talking about, the thing that goes around. If you have a pastry, one of those, go ahead and use that. Put all of your dry ingredients into your blender and just pulse it for about 15 seconds, just to mix all the dry ingredients in. And then drop your shortening in on top of that in little chunks. And then just pulse and just keep pulsing until your mixture resembles cornmeal. And I actually use myself, this is my homemade Bisquick mix. I actually use a mixture of half and half wheat and white flour. You can do all white flour. You can do all wheat flour if you want to, but I kind of do a half and half mixture. So anyway, then go ahead and store that Bisquick mix in an airtight container. And you can either store that in your refrigerator or just in kind of a coolish spot, especially if you use like Crisco. Crisco does not go rancid very quickly at all. If you are going to use lard, I would really suggest keeping your Bisquick mix in the refrigerator so it doesn't go rancid quickly. But keep it in a coolish spot and it will last for months. But anyway, so today, just based on that basic homemade Bisquick mix that you can make at home, I would like to share one of the wonderful recipes that Amber shared with us in the Snug group. And what that is for turkey, mushroom, and Swiss impossible pie. So for this impossible pie, we are going to need a ½ pound of ground turkey, 1½ cups of mushrooms, 1/4 cup of green onions and dice them up, 1 tablespoon of Montreal seasoning, that's that steak seasoning, 1 cup of shredded Swiss cheese. Then you'll need a ½ cup of your homemade Bisquick mix, or if you have the store-bought stuff, you can use the store-bought stuff too. A ½ cup of Bisquick mix, 1 cup of milk, and 2 eggs. So just to get started, you're just going to take and you're going to brown your turkey up. Now I want to tell you that this recipe, just like most other recipes, are extremely flexible. If you don't have ground turkey, go ahead and use ground beef. Ground venison will work, ground bison, ground elk, ground pork. It is just your choice. And in fact, if you don't have any fresh ground meat on hand, you can go ahead and use some of your home canned meat. You could use canned beef in this. Just drain it really well. You know how our home canned meats have a lot of fluid in them. Drain all that fluid off, and you could use your home canned meat or your home canned ground beef. Just totally flexible. But anyway, so I'm going to just get this browned up, this pound of ground turkey, and I did put in about half of my green onions, and I'm just going to get that ground, and then I will drain it and find out what the dog is barking at, and I will be back with you in just a moment. All right, so I've got my turkey all browned and drained, and I am going to aim that camera down just a little bit again for you. I got a lot of stuff in the way here today, don't I? Well, I guess you know what I'm doing here. So I've got my drained meat, and I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of that steak seasoning. Now, I didn't have the Montreal seasoning, but I do just have a regular steakhouse seasoning. And so add about 1 tablespoon of that steakhouse seasoning to your browned and drained turkey or beef or whatever it is that you have chosen to use as your meat, and just give that a good stir. And the only changes that I am making to the recipe today is just simply the amounts. Now, Amber calls for a ½ pound of ground, browned, and drained meat, and I'm actually going to use the whole pound. So go ahead and spray a pie plate with nonstick cooking spray, and you go ahead and put your cooked meat in there. Now, since I am using a larger quantity, when I go to make the Bisquick liquid stuff that goes over the top of it, I'm going to just increase by a recipe and a half for that, just so that I can cover all of the extra ingredients that I'm putting into my Impossible Pie. So like I said, I'm using an entire pound. Hers called for just a ½ pound. Now to that, I'm electing to use home canned mushrooms, and even though her amount is only, I think it's a ½ cup, let me just check and see here. It's 1½ cup mushrooms, and obviously a pint jar is 2 cups. I'm just going to put the entire pint on there. So let's just sprinkle that right over the top of our meat. Oh, I love mushrooms. And you guys, this is so good. It's just like a mushroom and Swiss burger. It just is a lot less work, and it's so quick, especially on those nights when you're tired and you just really don't want to do a whole lot for supper. You want minimal effort, minimal time. These Impossible Pies are amazing for that. All right, so we have our meat and our mushrooms, and now we're going to add some Swiss cheese. And like I said, I'm probably going to put on a lot more than just a ½ cup. Cheese is just one of those things you can never have too much of in our house. So I'm going to put a really nice helping of that Swiss cheese on there. And then I'm even going to elect to just sprinkle on a few more of the green onions on top of that. Okay, and now here's where we use our Bisquick filling, all right? And like I said, I'm going to make a recipe and a half. But what you do is you put 2 eggs, 1 cup of milk, and 1/2 cup of Bisquick in. And I'm going to make a recipe and a half today just to make sure that I can cover all of my ingredients. And what I like to do is I seriously just like to dump this all into my blender. And you know what I did? I forgot my blender lid, guys. I'm going to have to go over and grab that, so I'll be right back. All right, so I've got my lid. We're just going to give this a buzz in the blender for just a few seconds. That's all it takes. And then we are going to just pour that right over the contents of our pie. Perfection. And then we are going to go ahead and stick our pie into a preheated 400-degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes. And at that point in time, then I will come back and finish it up with you and show you the absolutely wonderful results. All right, so I baked my pie until when I inserted a knife in the center of the pie, it came out clean. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to opt to sprinkle a few more of those fresh green onions on top. And I'm going to cover with just a little bit of my leftover Swiss cheese. Now, like I said, I used a lot more volume than Amber called for in her recipe. I used more meat, and I also used more mushrooms than the recipe called for. And then, of course, that Bisquick filling that we poured over the top, I made a recipe and a half. So my pie, just simply because it was a larger volume, it took about 40 minutes for it to completely cook. But it is completely cooked at this point in time. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut my oven off, and I'm going to stick this with the fresh cheese on top just back in the oven for about another 5 minutes to melt it. All right, so I'm banging things around here. I let my pie just sit in, I turned my oven off and put that extra onions and Swiss cheese on top and just stuck it back in the oven that was off for about another 5 or 10 minutes. Then I removed it from the oven and allowed it to just stand for 5. And I'm just going to serve up just a piece of this wonderful pie. You guys, these impossible pies are so amazing on busy work days when you come home and you just don't feel like you have anything left to give your family. You can throw these into the oven so quickly and so easily. And look at this beautiful meal. Just gorgeous. Now, like I said, I use extra meat and extra cheese in mine, so then I felt like I needed just a little bit more of that Bisquick filling, with the Bisquick mix and the eggs and the milk, just to make sure that it was all filled out. But just look at how gorgeous this is. And so, so delicious, you guys. This is seriously just like a mushroom and Swiss burger. About a week ago, I actually made this recipe, more or less, with ground beef. And literally, you guys, it's just like a mushroom and Swiss burger. And so just the variation of the turkey, or if you wanted to use venison or elk, or even pork, ground pork, you guys, anything works to your taste. And it's just delicious. And it is literally a meal in a pie. So I'll give it a little taste here for you. Really hot. So, so good. Seriously, making a good, hearty, and healthy meal for your family doesn't have to take a lot of energy, especially with wonderful recipes like this. You guys, just fantastic. Anyway, I'm going to wipe my mouth. Anyway, come and join us on Snug. Like I said, Amber has shared so many amazing recipes this last month, just specifically using that Bisquick mix. It has just been mind-blowing. So many amazing recipes. So come and join us. I once again thank you for spending your time with me in my kitchen. God bless you all, and happy canning, everybody.